So I picked up some calipers from something I know, 2014 Ford Focus. And the rotors are going to go on the constant velocity. There just isn't enough room out here for sprockets and chains, so I have to cut these bars out of the way, put a plate here so I can bolt the caliper onto that plate. But I got rotors on order. I'll have them in a day or two. And then I can make the plate, but I got to cut this out in the meantime. Both sides will re-engineer what that front end is doing once I get the rotors in. So I might have to bring, there's lots of room. There's almost a foot to the front of the body. So I'll probably bring a bar out around front to tie it all together. But anyhow, I gotta cut these right there. Cut those, and then I'll get that side laid out. All right. So that was a not too bad. I've bumped my laser, but I got it. Cut through. That was a little bit of grinding, a little bit of sawzalling, and a little break. But we'll do this side and pop that thing out. Cut the little tacks that I had under there on that. This whole thing is just kind of, I got a few welds in it, but boy, there's a lot of grinding to do. That unit there too. A lot of welding, grinding, cleaning, blasting, painting. Looking forward to having it painted and bolting clean stuff back together. All right, I'll cut this side now. So I got that guy chucked up. Going to machine a flat surface back, and I'm going to take off enough material. Oh, that's not very much material. I really like to leave a shoulder on it, so when I put my mounting plate for the rotor on, that it can sit up against a ring. But there is not much material there. I don't want to cut this stuff off because I could just bring it in and there's more material here. Anyhow, I'm going to flatten this out and see what thickness I end up with. Doesn't have to be much, it can just be a couple thou, just enough for it to butt up against it. Anyhow, that's the plan. Alright, so I've worked out a way to have a shoulder. There was an existing profile there. I'm just gonna buzz a little bit of it off, but make that the shoulder. There's about 3/16 width. I only need the tiniest amount, just something square to put the rotor mount plate against. Once I do that, I'm going to just come over here and clean this up. I'm going to take a couple more passes here, and just so I have just an 1/8 of an inch shoulder or so. It's not too bad. I don't want to get that wall is pretty thin. I just want the absolute minimum. I've created a shoulder there. I'm just going to give it a pass there to give it a cleaning. That stuff, that's pretty good. How thick is that? Ooh, it's not. Get my verniers out. Ooh. Just under a 1/4 inch. I don't want to take any more off. That will have to do. I'm going to hit that with a file and some emery cloth. Clean it up. I like it. Looks like something I built. Kind of rough. It'll be perfect. I'll figure out what these dimensions are, give it a measure, and then I'll duplicate it on the second one. And then I have to get rotor mounts made, rings, welded on. Perfect. Alright, so working on the Argo. So I've got to make a couple hubs, like axle ends with a hub to bolt the disc on, the rotor on. So it's essentially going to look like a hub for a car with the lug nut sticking out. So I'm going to make a plate welded onto this, have the wheel studs in it, and then it'll capture the rotor. So that's a almost a 3.5 inch donut, I got to make 3.5-inch hole on the outside, 3.5-inch hole on the inside, and 5.5 or slightly less on the inside with lug nuts sticking out. So get the lathe set up. I've got some parts, some 5/8 thick circles, 5.5. So I got about a 3.5-inch hole in the middle. So we'll drill it. I think I can drill it out to 1 inch and then use boring bar and start opening up from there. So that's what's next. Alright, well, I drilled and I just used carbide insert to cut out a big chunk of donut. Now I'm just opening up to the final dimension. So a couple more passes and get it dialed in, and then it will have, this will be welded to that constant velocity stub, and it'll have five lug nuts, lug bolts sticking out that match the wheel pattern of that rotor. And that'll be my brakes, turning, steering. Somehow I'm going to try and incorporate that into the main brakes. But didn't quite get one done tonight. Hey, how's it going? So been working on a couple things on the Argo, and this is what I've come up with for the brakes, because you need to have a left and a right brake to steer the Argo, skid steer type steering. So I had to come up with a way to attach the rotor to the constant velocity that's going to come out of the differential. So this is a constant velocity, so it's going to come out one out of each side. So what I wanted to do is have studs coming out just like a regular car. So you just slide the rotor on and then bolt the rotor on with wheel nuts. So what I'm going to do is I've machined down to constant velocity So the rotor will go on one side. Right. So what I'm going to do is weld this ring on to the constant velocity, weld it on this side, and then with the wheel studs through, so they're sticking out this side. So this is going to sit like that, wheel stud sticking out. And then you just put your lug nuts on there. It seemed to make sense to me. We'll see. I'm going to run a couple beads on this ring. And then put it back in the lathe. Turn it down flat. I'll put a little bit of a groove in there to hold some weld. But yeah, put a couple beads in there, machine it down flat. I think I'll put a couple beads on that side, machine it down flat. And if it fails, what's the worst that could happen? You just have no brakes. It's not part of the drive or anything, it's just simply the brakes. And I think that'll be fun. Alright, so I've got them both ready to go. I'm going to get it all clamped in, square, in the rotor, so it doesn't move in the first few big tacks. Not that matters much because I'm going to machine it all square. So this is 5/8, 7-inch thick. I don't need nearly that, but that's what the plan is. So you'll have to mount the rotor onto the axle, push it into the differential, drop the whole differential in, and then put the calipers on. It's going to be a real chore if you want to do any work on constant velocities or rotors or anything. But anyhow, that's the plan. See what happens. Alright, I got that clamped square. And I'm gonna, I don't know, put 4 tacks on it and then a couple bigger tacks on it. Alright, I'm going to give it a little bit of welding. See how good a weld I can pull off. not too bad. But, I'm gonna fill that up now. I should hold it. I'll let it cool for a bit and then spin it in the lathe and get my corners back. Now it's nicely warmed up, preheated. Should flow pretty good. It's not perfect, but it's definitely hot. Yep, I'll let that cool off a little bit before I handle it in the lathe. Alright, so we're making some progress on Argo parts. So, yeah, I welded that ring on and machined down the welds. So that's going to carry the rotor on. Got the pilot holes indexed on there. It's going to be pretty slick. Go up in 3 stages. I think the final size, I'm going to use, I don't know if I'll use wheel nuts. I got some bolts, some good 1/2-inch bolts I'll probably use. And I'll just machine the head flat on one side so it doesn't spin once I get up that diameter. Yep. Spin them up on the lathe. Yeah. I'll clean up when I get there. Yeah, one project at a time. So yeah, just drilling holes now. You might laugh at the old drill doctor, but I sharpen all my drills with the drill doctor. Up to ½ inch anyhow, and then I just sharpen them on the grinder by eyeball, bigger than ½ inch. But that drill I just sharpened there, and it's drilling through ½ inch without any problem. The old drill doctor. Alright, well, I've got one hole drilled to size. I just want to make sure that this was all going to work out. I'm going to use these cap screws, machine head cap screws, because they're smaller diameter and they'll fit, I think, once I got them down. And yeah, I suppose fine thread would be best, but that's more than ½ inch of material, and I think I can get them locked on pretty tight. It's just the brakes after all. So, alright. I like to use a little WD-40. And I've always found tapping to be 80% luck and 15% skill. I'm feeling pretty good about that so far. course, I can't read the numbers on any of the drills I have because the shanks are all chewed up, but I'm pretty sure I drilled that the right size. Oh, there, lock her down. I don't think it's the best tap in the world, although it does say Butterfield, Quebec, Canada. Wow. Well, I don't know what that means at all. All I know is if I break a tap off in there, I'm just going to have to start all over again. Probably buy another Argo. There's no going back. Really, I feel like it's threading. Ooh, feels pretty tight though. Looks really good. Oh yeah, so far so good. Success. I don't remember what they told you in school. Did they tell you to run it all the way through? Or do you run it back out? I'm going all the way through. Ooh. Is that nice? That is one of the best looking threads I've ever made. I don't know if that's straight. But that looks great. Well, I'm going to drill the rest of the holes. I just want to make sure that was going to work before I got them all drilled. Yeah, excellent. So that's the plan. Allen head cap screw. I think that'll be pretty tough. Yep, I think that'll be plenty. It's just for stopping and steering and stopping. It's not going to hold the torque of the motor or anything like that. This, of course, this is the drive. This and this side here. But the brake is just for steering and stopping. So way more than the original Argo would have. It's just a single disc, just not even that big a diameter or anything. This will be plenty. Well, down to the number 5 here. And I would say it's going pretty well. Well, pretty well. I don't do a lot of tapping. Certainly not this size, half inch, 13 threads per inch. Most of any threading I do is on the lathe, or I even tap on the lathe. These things here have got the perfect for lining up on the dead center, live center, and then just feeding it in to your round part. Just mount your, after you've drilled the hole on the lathe, it's easy just to pin this between the hole and the center and just slowly feed it in with the tailstock. At least this looks like it's going to work for me. And they're mighty fine threads too, by the looks of it. Good looking threads. And I am pretty certain I've never paid for a tap, or die, or tool for spinning, or anything. I don't know where I get all this stuff. But got enough to always do what I needed. Alright, I'm down. I'm gonna go.